Okay, we'll start right now. Excellencies, Director General, Olive Oil Producers, and dear participants, welcome to the Lebanese Olive Oil Export to Canada webinar organized by the Embassy of Lebanon in Canada in collaboration with the Lebanese Ministry of Agriculture and the BIEEL Initiative. Bienvenue à la rencontre virtuelle concernant l'export d'huile libanais organisée par l'ambassade du Liban au Canada en collaboration avec le ministère de l'Agriculture au Liban et le projet BIEEL. I would like first to thank the entities that collaborated with us to make this event possible, especially our speakers who put the time today to be with us and share their expertise. We have the pleasure to group today 32 olive oil producers from Lebanon and around 100 participants from Canada and Lebanon. Nous avons le plaisir de vous avoir avec nous aujourd'hui et nous souhaitons d'avoir une rencontre efficace et réussie pour tous. Before starting with our schedule, I would like to ask from all the participants to keep their microphone muted at all times. I would like to first start with an introductory note by His Excellency Fadi Ziedeh, the Ambassador of Lebanon to Canada.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning everybody from Ottawa. صباح الخير للجميع وشكر خاص لسعادة مدير عام وزارة الزراعة المهندس لويس لحود وفريق عمل وزارة الزراعة يلي وكبنا لتنفيذ هالحدث، والشكر موصول لشركائنا فير تريد وبيال وجمعية الصناعيين، وتحية خاصة جدا لمطران كندا سيدنا إبراهيم يلي انتخب منذ أيام مطران على أبرشية زحلة، يلي راح يخبرنا عن دور الأديرة في إنتاج الزيت وأهمية أجياله لهذا السوق. سيدنا ألف مبروك، خسرتك كندا وربحك لبنان وربحتك زحلة. I have to say a few words in English to our Canadian guests. Distinguished guests, did you know that Lebanon is the historical birthplace of the olive tree? In fact, some of the oldest olive trees in the world still exist today in the village of Sha'li in the north of Lebanon. These trees, which are called the sisters because there are only 16 of them, are said to be at least 6,000 years old. The Mediterranean climate and fertile soil of Lebanon has proven ideal for olive trees as well as for the production of olive oil. As of 2018, 600 square kilometers of Lebanese territory are planted with olive trees. Even though the Lebanese olive oil export reached 7,000 tons in 2019, 10% of which was exported to Canada. Lebanese olive oil is already well positioned with the Lebanese and many other communities here in Canada. The goal of today's meeting is to discuss how to increase the export of Lebanon's uniquely flavored olive oil into the Canadian market. The Canadian market is very promising and represents a golden opportunity to increase Lebanon's presence. In order to reach this goal, we designed this webinar around the following topics. 1. Competitive advantage of Lebanese olive oil and its unique characteristics. 2. Challenges and opportunities in the Canadian olive oil market. 3. Transportation and logistics for olive oil into Canada. 4. CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's rules and regulations. 5. Access to olive oil distributors. Dear friends, I'm certain that if we establish a joint action plan in collaboration with exporters in Lebanon, distributors, olive oil retailers in Canada, with the guidance of the CFIA to ensure compliance with Canadian requirements, we can achieve our goal of making Lebanese olive oil more and more visible in the Canadian market. The saying as Canadian as maple syrup demonstrates the degree to which maple products and production are associated with Canadian identity. In the same way, olive oil demonstrates the degree to which olive products and production are associated with the Lebanese identity, its culture, and culinary fame. Finally, I want to assure you that the Economic Attaché Vanessa Naddaf and the Embassy team are at your disposal for any assistance. We are ready to accompany you in your journey to enter and succeed in the Canadian market. وأخيراً بس السؤال بينطرح للكل، ليش كندا؟ لأنه كندا أو السوق الكندي سوق واعد جداً، والصادرات الغذائية اللبنانية خلال 2020 زادت بحوالي 10 مليون دولار، أي بنسبة 25% عن سنة 2019، لسيما الصادرات الغذائية. وإذا استمرت هالنسبة بالنمو يمكن للسوق الكندي أنه يستوعب 20% من إنتاج زيت الزيتون خلال السنوات الثلاثة القادمة، لسيما أنه اليوم بيستوعب 10%. ولتحقيق هالهدف اليوم الويبينار هدفه يربط المصدر اللبناني مع الموزع الكندي ليوصل للمستهلك الكندي بدرجة أولى من خلال البزنس تو بزنس. ثانياً، ربط المنتج والمزارع اللبناني مباشرة بالمستهلك الكندي من خلال الدور تو دور، وهذا نموذج ناجح بكندا. والمنتج والمزارع اللبناني بقريته في لبنان عم بيصدر لكندا، مثلا رشية، مشغرة، فرمشكي، يلي عم بينتجوا زيت الزيتون، في مصدرين عم بيجيبوا لهم لابن ضيعتهم باوتاوا. وهيدي رح ينحكى عنها ببانل خاص مع السيد جورج ايوب والسيد توفيق ابو عسلي. واخيرا بهمنا نعرف المنتج اللبناني على المواصفات المطلوبه بالسوق الكندي، وهون في عنا كونيسور من ايطاليا رح يطلع معنا تيقلنا شو هي الريكوايرمنتس للسوق الكندي اللي لازم تكون موجوده بزيت الزيتون اللبناني. وبتمنى لكم ويبينار ناجح. شكرا.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your continuous support to the economic mission at the embassy. ونحن على طول هون كملحقية اقتصادية بالسفارة جاهزين أن نساعد كل المصدرين بلبنان ونوصلهم بكاونتر بارتس لهم بالسوق الكندي ونساعدهم ليتعرفوا أكثر على السوق الكندي. Please allow me to introduce now Engineer Luis Lahoud, the Director General of the Lebanese Ministry of Agriculture, who has been working hard since his appointment with farmers and producers to help them with their daily matters and achieve better results. Mr. Lahoud.
مساء الخير. سعادة سفير لبنان بكندا أستاذ فادي زيادة، صاحب السيادة مطران كندا حاليا مطران إبراهيم ومطران زحلي لاحقا، الفرز والزحلي والبقاع لروم الملكين الكاثوليك لاحقا. برحب فيكم باسم وزارة الزراعة اللبنانية، وبدي أشكر وزارة الخارجية والمغتربين وسفارة لبنان بكندا ممثلة بسعادة السفير فادي زيادة والملحقة الاقتصادية فانيسا النداف على جهودهم الجبارة اللي عم يبذلوها بتسويق منتج لبنان. نحن كان عندنا تجربة ناجحة معكم ب 30 تشرين الثاني 2020 عاد ما عملنا ويبينار لنبيد اللبناني، وبعد هالويبينار قدر نبيد اللبناني يدخل أكثر على أسواق كندا رغم الظروف الصحية الصعبة، وقدرتوا تعرفوا السوق الكندي على نبيد اللبناني وعلى الخمارات اللبنانية المنتشرة بكل المناطق اللبنانية. شكرا يا فانيسا الملحقة الاقتصادية، شكرا لسعادة السفير على جهودكم. اليوم عم يشهد السوق الكندي تألق جديد لزيت الزيتون اللبناني. وزارة الزراعة عملت جاهدة خلال السنوات السابقة على احترام النوعية والمواصفات بالتنسيق بين منتجي الزيت بكل المناطق اللبنانية وبالتعاون مع المجلس الدولي لزيت الزيتون، وقدرنا عبر أيام تسويقية محلية بلبنان وبالخارج نسوق هالمنتج زيت الزيتون. وهون بدي شيد بجهود المنتجين اللبنانيين بالتضحيات اللي بذلوها، إن كان تضحيات عبر يد العاملين، إن كان عبر استثمار الأراضي، إن كان عبر استثمار المالي اللي وضعوه بهالقطاع، وقدروا كانوا سفراء للبنان بكل المحافل الخارجيه. اليوم املنا كبير بالجاليه اللبنانيه بكندا، سياحيه بكندا، من مطاعم وفنادق وكل مؤسسات السياحه. املنا كبير بالمستهلك الكندي، واملنا كبير بكل واحد بفكر انه باهله بلبنان يقول للسوق الكندي سوقوا زيت الزيتون اللبناني، لانه بتسويقكم زيت الزيتون بتكونوا عم بتحافظوا على اهلكم بلبنان، بتكونوا عم تخلوا المزارع بارضه، بتكونوا عم تامنوا فرصه عمل بلبنان بالظروف الاقتصاديه والاجتماعيه الصعبه اللي عم يعيشها البلد، وبظل انحباس وخساره كثير من فرص العمل. نحن اليوم بالعوده للزراعه اللي عم نعملها لازم كل واحد منا، كل مغترب لبناني موجود يقدر يقول انا بدي ادعم تسويق هالمنتج، بدي ادعم تسويق زيت الزيتون، ويعرف الجاليه الكنديه على السوق الكندي على منتج زيت الزيتون. وبالوقت نفسه بحب اقول لكم انه نحن وزاره الزراعه عملت جهده بتعريف كل المنتجين على متطلبات السوق الكندي، وعم تسعى لوصول كل المعلومات المطلوبه لهالسوق، واتكالنا كبير على السفاره. واليوم بقول لكم انه نحن جوده زيت الزيتون بلبنان ممتازه، بعد ما عملنا عبر توزيع مواد ارشاديه وندوات ارشاديه وكتب ارشاديه وتوزيع خزانات ستانليس لكل التعاونيات والمزارعين بكافه المناطق اللبنانيه، وشكلنا فرق تذوق حسي لزيت الزيتون لحتى نعرف اكثر بكل المعارض المحليه بلبنان وخارجيه على تذوق. وقدرنا عملنا مختبر وطني لتحليل زيت الزيتون، جهزناه، صار اليوم موجود بكفرشيما لنقدر نعمل فحوصات على زيت الزيتون للتصدير الخارجي. وقدرنا نحن وضعنا بالتصارف كل اللبنانيه تطبيق ذكي اسمه زيت لبنان. هالشيء هذا بيعرف المكان اللي بنلاقي فيه زيت الزيتون بكل المناطق اللبنانيه من خلال المنتج او المعصره او المصنع او التعاونيه. هذا اسمه سميناه باسم زيت لبنان. عم تسعى الوزاره لخلق تجمع وطني للزيتون وزيت الزيتون اللبناني بينضم له كل محبي زيت الزيتون والقطاع. هالويبينار اليوم اللي عم بتشارك فيه وسائل الاعلام المرئيه والمسموعه والمكتوبه، ومعنا اليوم الBC بوجه لها تحيه اللي هي دائما عم تكون معنا بكل تسويقنا الخارجي. وبدي اقول انه نحن اتكلنا كبير عليكم، مثل ما قدرنا بنبيد من تشرين الثاني لليوم بعد تقدم. نحن كمان فتره بدنا نعمل نحتفل نحن وياكم مع بعضنا بتقدم تسويق زيت الزيتون اللبناني، على امل نشوف ويبينار كمان مع السفاره والملحه الاقتصاديه على موضوع المونه والمطبخ اللبناني. نحن اتكلنا كثير عليكم، وان شاء الله كوفيد 19 بخف اثارها، نقدر نكون جسديا معكم بالخريف المقبل بكندا مع كل المنتجين زيت الزيتون والنبيذ والعرق والموني والمطبخ اللبناني. وبنقدر نقول نحن عند بتسوق لبناني بتسوق استمراريه هالبلد. شكرا متران كان اليوم الملكين الكاثوليك لحتى يدعم تسويق زيت الزيتون اللبناني ويعطينا دائما دفشه وبركه لحتى نقدر نستمر بمهمتنا. شكرا. عشتوا مع عاش الزيتون، عاش لبنان. بدي اشكر كامل نهره اللي هي اليوم نعمل معنا بالتعاون معهم هالمشروع. كمان عم ينعمل بين وزاره الزراعه اللبنانيه وبين
سعادة المدير, your voice is not, we cannot hear your voice anymore. Maybe you have a connection, maybe it's a connection issue or something. This is why we're gonna be jumping now to Bishop Brahim for his note. معنا. Thank you for being today with us, Bishop Brahim.
Merci كتير. Thank you very much for inviting me to be with you at this webinar. سعادة السفير فارس زيادي، أنا بشكركم مع حضرة مدير عام وزارة الزراعة لويس لحود على التفكير فيي ودعوتي. It's my pleasure to be with you and to support, at least in words that are meant from life experience, a life experience. When I joke sometimes with people why I do love so much olive oil, I answer because I was born under an olive tree. إنه نكون خلقانين تحت زيتونة معناتها نحن والزيت على علاقة مش بس هو التذوق بالطعام، لكن على علاقة أنثروبولوجية، لأنه زيت الزيتون له دور بيبلي. In the Bible, olive oil has a main role as used to anoint kings in the name of God. So olive oil has many uses and many purposes, including in the oil of baptism and other sacraments of the church and prayers. So, but as a regular person myself, I have this a strong relationship with an olive tree, with olive oil. And olive oil, in my opinion, is the king of the table, the king of the kitchen, of the cuisine, worldwide. And if we really want to be fair, knowing, living in different continents, myself, living in Italy, which produces a lot of olive oil, and living in the United States, and living in Canada, and living in Lebanon, the Middle East, I know that the superiority of the Lebanese olive oil is a given fact, not out of, like, I'm not making a commercial, I'm not making just proclaiming by words what I'm saying, but proclaiming by experience, by knowledge as well, that our olive oil is of best quality worldwide. It's not known as much as other countries' production of olive oil, unfortunately, but it is time. It's time to recognize that this small country produces the best olive oil in the world. And we are really in need to spread the word and to spread the truth about our Lebanese olive oil. From experience as well, I learned in the past so many years in Montreal from the Mr. Saad Tami, who made a deal with one of the exporter of olive oil from Lebanon to Canada. And it was tested in McGill University. Saad Tami, God bless his soul, his son is taking care of this movement right now. He told us that the results of the laboratory tests of our Lebanese olive oil are superior in according to the truth. It's not, again, it's not like a fact that is coming from only wishing or desiring to see it like this. No, it is by truth. It is like this. This is the fact. The Litani, for example, another company that exports olive oil to Montreal and to Canada, are doing an excellent job. I visited the press center of olive oil in the Bekaa Valley, the most advanced one in the Middle East, most advanced one in the Middle East, and the biggest one as well. Lebanon is a treasure on this level, is a treasure that we need to discover. We need to discover, and we need to make it known, for all those who give honor to this product of nature, olive oil from which also we make soaps, we make other products of supporting nature and treating our bodies and in treating our beings.
True, I agree.
Sorry?
Yes, I agree with you, Bishop Brahim, that we always need to support our products and to help the Lebanese producers maybe access directly with the diaspora and sell directly to them.
Yes, and again, going back to the experience of being born, okay, symbolically under an olive tree, because it's only like few meters from the room where I was born. And my village is full of olive trees, and I also worked as a child, helped my parents and other people in my village to collect the olive in order to take it to press, and it was a pleasure. It's not an easy job, but it is a pleasure, because knowing that every piece is treated one by one and collected one by one in order to give a product which is sublime.
Thank you so much, Bishop Brahim. It's always a pleasure. It's my pleasure first to meet you today, and I really hope that we can work together with the churches and all other entities here in the diaspora to help the producers in Lebanon to let their products be in the Canadian market through you and all other entities. And now I will continue our webinar by presenting the Lebanese olive oil sector and production through the experience and stories of two olive oil producers. I would like to thank here the Association of Lebanese Industrialists, represented by Ms. Jamal and Mr. Nasrawi, for introducing me to Mr. Tony Boulos, who I had the pleasure to meet and invite today to our webinar. Mr. Boulos is an active businessman and olive oil producer and has an extensive experience in the Lebanese olive oil market that he will be sharing with us today. Mr. Boulos, welcome to our webinar. I would like to focus today with you on the current Lebanese olive oil production, its evolution, to learn which markets import the most from Lebanon and what are the competitive advantage of our oil. And last, what advice can you give for new producers given your long expertise in the market?
Thank you. First, good day to all of you. Allow me first to thank Ambassador Fadi Ziadeh for his attention and care about exporting Lebanese olive oil, helping to export Lebanese olive oil to Canada. And to you, Ms. Nadaf, and all the team with you for all the efforts to organize this webinar. And congratulations to Sayyidina Ibrahim. We are happy to be with you. So my name is Tony Maroon. I am the owner and CEO of Atyab Company, known better by our famous olive oil brand in the local market, Zayt Boulos, or Boulos olive oil. In fact, olive oil for me, as well as for my family many years ago, is not only just a profession or an expertise. It is indeed really my passion. I really love and enjoy working, producing, tasting, and bottling olive oil. Ms. Nadaf asked me to talk a little bit about what she said about Lebanese olive oil. this liquid gold. Lebanon prides itself of having it from the times of the Phoenicians. I will not talk about the benefits and all this that you know about olive oil. I want to state that Lebanon was always among the top 20 countries producing olive oil since the 60s. Of course, Spain is by far #1, followed by Italy, Greece, Tunisia, Portugal, Turkey, Syria, and Morocco. As for exporting countries, there is always this competition between Spain and Italy, in addition to lately Tunisia, Portugal, Greece, and newly emerging countries as Argentina and Chile. However, as for Lebanon, exports of olive oil have been on an upward trend over the last years. Lately, we notice the predominance of extra virgin olive oil amongst total exports. Indeed, this high-end product is increasingly being used by Lebanese export partners for its really exceptional quality. Lebanese olive oil exports are mainly towards North America and the Gulf. More specifically, 22% of total exports are to the United States, and 20% of the total exports are to Saudi Arabia. Then comes the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Canada in the fourth or fifth place with 7.5%. There is a number of growing export partners, such as Australia, New Zealand, and Latin American countries. In fact, olive oil exports to these parts of the globe have been on the rise in recent years due to the presence of a large Lebanese diaspora. Thinking always positive, and that's what we like to do, we have now new opportunities, even in these bad financial and economic circumstances our country are passing through. And it is that our prices are becoming very near and sometimes cheaper than other competitive countries, which was not the case before. And this makes a way for increasing export, not only to our Lebanese diaspora, but also to mainstream markets of the exporting countries, as in Canada, for example. Another opportunity is rising is that the new generation is truly reconsidering working in olive oil and in olive agriculture with new ways and practices, efficient ones, or in the olive oil sector as a whole, with innovative, modern ideas. And many NGOs are helping in this. We can now see new mills are installed, new brands with nice packaging are launched, especially by small producers. There is an emerging interest for people to know more about olive oil, to be educated more in this field. However, our main strengths in Lebanon, or our main competitive advantage, remain quality. And I repeat, quality. And we need to strengthen not only quality, but consistency and constancy in quality. And this is a challenge. We are dealing with a natural product, and constancy and consistency is the know-how. It's our strengths that we need to strengthen. This is the key to success, at least according to my experience. Our olive oil, our Lebanese olive oil, is really tasty. It is mainly made from Surani type, which is indigenous to Lebanon region. And this was what differentiated from other producing countries, olive oil, in addition to Airuni or Baladi varieties, which are really special, tasty, fruity, with this hot, robust accent and slight bitterness if early harvested, being very green olives, or fruity and mildly hot if olives are more ripe. You can feel the Lebanese earth, weather, sun, and wind in every drop. Of course, if all the production process is well done, from the olive on the tree to the table, to the bottle on your table. Another strength is the passion. Now Sayyidna talked about the passion Lebanese have for olive oil, both producers and consumers, locally and abroad. And passion is not economically insignificant term. It really pays. A third strength or opportunity is the number of Lebanese living outside Lebanon in all continents, and specifically in Canada, our interest today in particular. These are ready consumers for good quality Lebanese olive oil brands. And this is not a mere theory, but it is what I experienced with our brand when starting exporting to Canada. Of course, if having a passionate and professional distributors of Lebanese olive oil and Mooney products. Finally, not wanting to take more of your valuable time, because if I start talking about olive oil and my journey since I was in this field and my passion for this noble juice, I may not find enough words. However, my dream and my advice remain the same: to see Lebanese olive oil, not only my brand, all premium Lebanese olive oil, well done, well produced, well bottled, to be well estimated, well viewed, well respected by all connoisseurs and fan gourmet all over the world. And having this sector, exports to Canada and other countries, help Lebanon and Lebanese farmers and industrialists sustain in their home country and building a better tomorrow with God's grace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bourous, for your intervention and for your valuable input. And as you were saying, the Lebanese olive oil market has been witnessing the appearance of new olive oil producers who introduce new techniques, innovative packaging and ideas, which is moving forward the olive oil production into the gourmet, high-quality extra virgin olive oil. To learn more about these new trends in the market, I would like to welcome today Mr. Youssef Fares, who is an olive oil producer from Lebanon, whose company is a member of the BIEEL cluster initiative, that I would like to thank today for their continuous support to the export initiatives of Lebanon, of Lebanese products around the world. I'm very happy to have you today with us, Mr. Fares, and I'm very much looking forward to learn from you about the new production techniques, and if producers nowadays in Lebanon are trending towards following these new trends. And also, I would like to have your opinion on the way that SMEs and new Lebanese olive oil producers that they can follow to earn competitive advantage in the market.
Hi, Vanessa. Thank you for having me. Vanessa, I can answer your question, and I have a presentation. Do you want me to share the presentation?
You can actually, yeah, you can do it through your presentation, so we don't take too much time from everything. You can share your screen so we can see. Thank you.
Is it working?
Yes, it is. You can start. Thank you, Youssef.
All right. So for whoever don't know who I am, I'm an agricultural engineer who comes from a family that does olive oil. And in 2004, I came back to Lebanon with the aim of producing very high quality olive oil and exporting it outside of Lebanon. And with time, I had the opportunity and to work on a lot of new products and innovative products coming from olive oil. So as you can see behind me, I'm in my store, you see a lot of our products hanging over there. So what I've been asked about to discuss with you today is a little bit about the Lebanese olive oil sector in general, the innovation part, and what has been done in the past. Let me start by saying that after the war, a lot of effort were put by many people to support the farmers in giving them awareness how to do quality. And funds were given to cooperatives and to small and medium enterprises to help them in the harvesting and post-harvesting methods they use. A lot of awareness was put into GMPs and GHPs in the olive oil factories. Huge investments were made into new facilities. So until the war, all our mills were old mills, traditional mills. Then after that, there was a major change in the industry in Lebanon, where we started using the European techniques in order to be able to make high quality olive oil to be exported everywhere in the world, in Canada, for sure. So a lot of the companies also started like maybe 10 or 15 years ago going into food safety management. So ISO, FSSC, BRC, the overall industry is going to new standards. Even ecologically, a lot of the companies are investing in waste management treatments. So what I'm trying to tell you is the industry itself changed a lot since the 1990s. Today, we have everything that we need as infrastructure in order to be able to do, and we are doing, as Tony was saying, we are doing very high quality olive oil. So we are here and we can export. That's my first information I want you to know. The second thing I was asked to talk about is the innovation in this sector. And technically, the olive oil industry was, what we know, everybody from his village, is that we have some olive oil and some olives and some soaps and that's it. Well, no, that's not it. This is how it was maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago. But today the industry changed a lot. Of course, the bulk of the business will remain extra virgin olive oil. We agree to that. But next to that, a lot of new trends are coming up. Organic products, the infused olive oil. So we put herbs and spices inside the oil, and you have, okay, in Lebanon we like a lot the chili oil. We use it with pizza, and but a lot of other products are have highly demand. Basil oil, oregano, rosemary, dressings. We personally do a dressing with pomegranate molasses and olive oil, for example. So it's a dressing ready to make, something like the balsamic oil that is usually used in Italy. So this is from on the olive oil part. Again, next to that, from the olives, we can do a lot of things. Of course, we do the stuffed olives and the green olives and the black olives, which is fine. Everybody does these. But we developed a range of olive pastes with different local flavors. So we have a wide diversity in Lebanon, and everybody can produce their own paste, their own tapnad that you eat on a piece of bread while having a drink with your friends. So there's a huge market in that segment where you can work on differentiated delicacies, let's call it as is. Again, on a totally different perspective, we used to do olive with the bad olive oil. The bad olive oil is the olives that fall on the trees, below the trees. We used to do soap. Well, today the industry developed itself much more, and we are doing cold processing of extra virgin olive oil into olive oil soaps with a lower pH, good for your hand, moisturizing, and then you can go into cosmetics with all the massage oils and face oils and creams out of olive oil. So olive oil is a great ingredient to go into this new markets. So we need to differentiate ourselves, and this being innovative is one of the way to be able to access new markets, mainly in developed countries. Again, for example, we do a jam with olives. So we have an olive jam. I'm just giving an example that we do a chocolate with olive oil. The world is the limit when you go into the olive oil world, and you can do whatever you want, and all these are products and they have a market. So we need to be innovative, and we are in Lebanon. We have a lot of talent, so I think we can work on this more and more. All right, so in order to access the Canadian market, I believe that we have a competitive edge. Of course, we need to push on quality. That's our main focus. We need to push on all the, try to be certified as much as possible, although it's tough in Lebanon, although it's expensive, but having organic certifications, ecological certifications, maybe fair trade certification, all these will help us a lot gain market access in developed countries. So we should push all together, the farmers, the processor, the mill owners, we should push together in order to get there. We have a good traceability system happening in Lebanon today, and we have to push it a little bit more with time. We're getting there step by step. We are organizing with Tony and the other main stakeholders in the industry to work as a filière, as a supply chain. I don't know what's filière in English, the right technical word for it, but to work all together. So the farmers and the industries and the packers and the brand owners to work all together in order to be able to export better quality, and hand on hand in order to access new markets. So we need to emphasize a lot on this. And this is something very important that will give us a certain volume of export. Because as you know, in Lebanon, every farmer has a tiny farm, so not everybody will have the volumes to export. You have to work all together to get there. On the branding part, I think that we have a great diaspora, and today I think we're going to be talking with a lot of them and with a great presence. We have to work in a collaborative manner with them, push to work hand on hand, push the Lebanese brand, Lebanon, as a destination for olive oil. Technically, when you say, as His Excellency the Bishop was saying, you talk about olive oil, we say Italy. Well, no, it started here. No, we should say when we talk about olive oil, no, Lebanon. This is the birth of the tree. This is where it all started. It didn't start in Italy. We are not copying them. So in a way, we need to get back on put back Lebanon where it should be. This is very important. And of course, and we're counting on Vanessa to help us a lot, not only for olive oil, we have to raise the brand Lebanon. The name of Lebanon should go very high. And whenever it goes to a certain extent, we all go up with it. When it was somebody who should be talking about good Mediterranean food, it should say, everybody should hear Lebanon, 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 and think this is Mediterranean food. So we are really counting on this. Of course, I'm not going into the fair trade, the trade agreements, because this is a very controversial point, but we need trade agreements to access, to be more competitive and to be on the same level with other people coming from other companies coming from other countries. So this is very important to us if this is something we can work on. To end my presentation, I just would like to highlight that there are new trends in the market. These trends are natural, organic, healthy cooking, going into olive oil as a healthy nutrient, maybe eating more olive oil and less saturated fat because it's better for your health. We have a lot of new trends in the market that we can leverage on. Mediterranean diet by itself is something very, very important. Omega-3 that is a part of olive oil is something that everybody is looking for, either for dietary supplements or for animal feed or for even cooking. So we need to push more on these brands, work more on these trends, but we can get there. As I said at the end of the presentation, the potential is there to grab. Quality and innovation are the name of the game, and some of us are already riding the wave, more to follow. And more success stories to happen in the future, I hope.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Faris, for your valuable notes. And I am sure that with young entrepreneurs like you, the industry will always be inspired and moving forward and adapting new trends and market demands. And I will make sure also here at the Embassy with His Excellency to always work with all of you to see how we can promote better Lebanon and especially new products and new innovations. So after exploring in summary the Lebanese olive oil market, I'm very happy to have today with us Ms. Alia Blaise. Ms. Blaise is the policy and program leader at the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and she specializes in the import requirement of the SFCR and import admissibility requirements for food. We're all ears to Ms. Blaise to hear her intervention about the new regulations and rules to follow to export food, and more specifically olive oil to Canada from Lebanon. Ms. Blaise, thank you for being with us. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much for having me. So what I'll do quickly is just to share my screen so I can share my presentation with everyone.
Yes. Yeah, it's working.
Okay. So everything is okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Alia Blaise, and I work in the International Affairs branch of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So while I understand that there is interest in exporting olive oil to Canada, I thought it would be beneficial to provide you with a little bit of an overview on the rules, the process for importing, and some information on the Safe Food for Canadians regulations, labeling requirements, and some food safety standards and guidelines. So Canada is the 5th largest importer in the world, and we import approximately $44 billion a year from over 191 countries. And roughly 40% of the food products sold in Canada are imported, and many of the foods that are produced in Canada are manufactured with imported ingredients. And the Canadian Food and Inspection Agency, we have a broad mandate that encompasses food safety, animal health, plant health, and international market access. And so this slide goes in a little bit about our history and our vision, but in short, we are a science-based regulator, and our goal is to ensure the well-being of Canadians, our environment, and our economy. So the CFIA is not the only government organization that plays a role in imported food. Health Canada, for example, is responsible for establishing national health, safety, and nutritional standards for food in Canada. They conduct health risk assessments and evaluations on food contaminants. They approve food additives, or they will even set their responsibilities to set residue tolerance limits for foods. And they publish all of this information in the Food and Drug Regulations here in Canada. Our other partners are Global Affairs Canada. They're the lead on the free trade agreements with other trading partners. And they're also responsible for the issuance of permits for certain supply managed agricultural products. And then we have the Canada Border Services Agency, and they assist in the administration and enforcement of legislation as it applies to imported products. So they are responsible for the initial import inspection that's performed at airports or other Canadian points of entry. And so their customs inspectors will typically review the documentation, permits or certificates or licenses of the goods before they're released. Certain times they will also do physical examinations of the shipments just to verify that the documentation that's being presented matches the goods that are being imported. And CFIA, we quite often liaise with the CBSA during their border inspections, and we'll take advantage of their border lookout process to identify any high-risk goods that may be entering the country. So this slide is just really an illustration of the shared responsibility across the import continuum. So here we're seeing that there's CBSA and CFIA, and we're working together as CFIA. We set the policies and the regulations for imports, and then that's all enforced by CBSA at the Canadian border. Now, what's important to take away from this this illustration is that that relationship between the importer that's located in Canada and the foreign supplier or the foreign exporter. So it's important that that relationship is strong and you're working together to understand the requirements to import into Canada and to also identify any Canadian requirements that may be unique from other foreign trading partners. So some examples of that would be the requirement to have a French and English labeling or our specific allergen labeling requirements or any sort of food additives or residue limits with respect to the food. These priority allergens or chemical residue limits, they can differ between Canada and other trading partners like the European Union or the United States. So it's very important to understand exactly what the Canadian requirements are. Now this just sort of outlines our generic import process. So you can see that there's 6 parts to it, starting firstly with the requirements, and that's set through our policies and our regulations, and we make that information available to the import industry. The second part of the process is the permissions, and so that's that's the importer's responsibility to obtain the appropriate permissions to import. Now, with respect to food products, all food that's being imported into Canada requires that the importer holds a Safe Food for Canadians license to import. Now, once the importer is aware of what the requirements are, they've obtained the appropriate permission, then they can seek clearance. And they do that by submitting in advance their import declaration. And so they'll present all of the information required to import, and they will get approval that they've met all the admissibility requirements. Once they have that approval, their product, their shipment can continue onto the border. Now at the border, that is where the shipment encounters CBSA. Again, CBSA is going to look at the shipment, look at the documentation, and they will determine whether or not that product can enter the country. Now, if a product or shipment is not permitted to enter Canada, then it may be returned to the foreign exporter or supplier. So once a shipment has been released at the border, released by CBSA, it can then further move forward to its first destination. Now, depending on the product, it could be flagged, and we may ask it to be held for further inspection by CFIA, or it may just be granted permission to continue on into the Canadian marketplace. And then the last part of our import process is reporting, and really that is done throughout the entire, and throughout all of the steps that you've seen here. So I'll just go into the Safe Food for Canadians regulations a little bit and give a little bit of an overview of what the rules are. So the Safe Food for Canadians regulations, or SFCR, applies to food that is imported, exported, or traded between our Canadian provinces. It does also apply to food animals when the meat products derived from those animals will be exported out of Canada or sent across Canadian provinces. And there are three key components to the Safe Food for Canadians regulations. Those are licensing, preventive controls, and traceability. So with licensing, the goal is to assign accountability and enhance the rigor of food safety up and down the food supply chain. And it's activity-based and is determined by what the person is doing and less about what they're producing. So when we're speaking about licensing, it's the person that is importing the food into Canada that needs to have the SFC license. And so typically that person is located in Canada. And so as foreign suppliers, you don't need to have a license, an SFC license to export to Canada. You do not need to register with CFIA to export your product to Canada. You just need to work with an importer that's located here in Canada. The second key component of the SFCR is preventive controls. And so the preventive controls are based on internationally recognized principles of food hygiene. So such as the good manufacturing practices, good agricultural practices, and the principles of hazard analysis and critical control points. They're outcome-based where possible to allow for innovation and flexibility in manufacturing. And they also include procedures for investigations, complaints, and recalls. So the importer that you work with will want to ensure that the food that you're supplying them or the olive oil that you're supplying them has been manufactured under preventive controls. And they'll have to document this in what is called the Preventive Control Plan, or a PCP. Now, since importers must maintain a PCP, because it's part of the requirements for the regulations for them, they are going to probably ask a lot of questions about the food safety hazards and any of the control measures that's controlling those hazards that are in place. So you may get some questions like that from importers here. The last piece of the SFCR, the last component I can say, is that it's traceability. And traceability requirements align with international standards. And the aim is to trace the food one step forward and one step back through the food supply chain. So the importer will be required to keep traceability records or documents for the food they're importing. And there are three things that they're going to want to be able to do. Firstly, they'll have to be able to identify the product, and that's through common name, principal place of business, lot code, or a unique identifier. They will need to trace back, and so that means it's the date that they've received the food and who supplied that food or supplied that product to them. And then they'll have to trace forward. So once they've imported that product, they'll have to keep records of when they've supplied that to someone else and who they're providing that food to. So a lot of the importers in Canada will want to ensure that the products they're importing are labeled with a lot code or a unique identifier. It makes it easier for them to meet those traceability requirements. So as I mentioned, the importers will want to ensure that their foreign supplier is manufacturing, preparing, storing, packaging, and labeling the food under same conditions as food that would be prepared in Canada. And they'll need to understand the hazards that are reasonably expected to occur with the foods. So, and I mentioned this in the previous slides, but they're going to ask information about the manufacturing practices and the food safety controls and how you're addressing any of the hazards. They may even ask if you're part of a food safety certification program and what the result of your last audit was, if you are. And in some cases, they may ask to visit the facility, visit you and where you are, just to verify the controls themselves. So all of this information that they're asking for, it's really going to help them build that strong preventive control plan. Because when we go and see the importers here in Canada, we need to be able to ask them for this information and they need to be able to show it to us. So with respect to olive oil in Canada, it's important when you're manufacturing or sourcing olive oil for the Canadian market that you understand all of the Canadian requirements for olive oil and work with your importer located here in Canada to address those requirements. So olive oil must meet the standard that is prescribed in the Food and Drug Regulations under the sections for fats and oils. Virgin or extra virgin olive oil must meet the standards and definitions as outlined in the International Olive Oil Council. Olive oil sold in Canada must meet all applicable labeling requirements and cannot include fraudulent claims. And with any food products, including olive oil, it cannot be adulterated with any contaminants or other adulterating substances as per the Food and Drug Regulations. Now, globally, olive oil is considered a high-risk commodity for food fraud. And food fraud occurs when food is misrepresented by adulteration, ingredient substitution, counterfeiting, false, misleading, or deceptive labeling or advertising, and document falsification. So the CFIA conducts routine sampling and testing of various food commodities, including olive oil, and provides guidance to help industry understand the requirements. This is one of our priorities, so combating food fraud is a joint responsibility between CFIA, the industry, and consumers. So when manufacturing products or exporting foods for the Canadian market, it's also important to understand how those foods must be labeled. Most prepackaged food sold in Canada is generally required to adhere to the Canadian labeling requirements. Typically, foods must be labeled with the common name, date marking, and storage instructions. And that's when the durable shelf life is less than 90 days, or it cannot be stored in normal temperature, ambient temperature. The dealer name and principal place of business. It requires the list of ingredients and any allergens that would be found in that product. It requires a net quantity, and it also requires a nutritional facts table. Labels must be again French and English, and the information represented on the food labels must be truthful and must not be misleading. Now, when a product is wholly manufactured outside of Canada, the label must show that the product is imported and that the country of origin is required on the label. So discuss with the importer that you're working with what elements of the labeling requirements would be required for olive oil. again, imported food or food that's imported into Canada must conform with the food safety standards and guidelines for Canada. So as you may recall in the earlier slides, I mentioned that some standards for food in Canada may not be the same as standards that you would find in the United States or the European Union. So when making food for the Canadian market, we need to be aware of what those standards and guidelines are that are specific to Canada. So on this slide, I'm not going to go through the links, but these are some of the links that can be found on our website that gives you those specific information regarding the Canadian standards. And this can be found under food safety for industry. So this is just a screenshot of our website, but as I mentioned, it is important to visit the website and take a look at the information that's there. There's lots of information about labeling, about importing, about the organics. I heard someone mention organic oils, organic products, and including the food safety information and preventive controls. It's a good idea to go take a look at this information, because when you're having that conversation with the importer that you're working with, you can be on the same, you both will be on the same level of understanding of what the requirements are. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alia. Really, it's a great pleasure to have you today with us. And I know how much it's important for everyone and for every Lebanese producer and exporter to learn about this regulation, because the Canadian market is a very special market, and it's quite different than any other market for export. So thank you again for being here today with us and sharing with us this expertise and this valuable information. And I hope that we can always be in touch with you for any further questions or any collaboration on any other organic topic or olive oil topic or any other product of this sort. So thank you again for being with us today, Alia. And before jumping to Mr. Phil Bukino, I have a quick intervention from Mr. Abbas Mahmoud, who is a self-made icon and accomplished businessman, and who he never failed to show his commitment to his homeland, Lebanon, through many initiatives. Mr. Mahmoud is the owner of multiple nightclubs, restaurants, and pubs in Canada, in addition to being a partner in multiple business ideas. And he owns currently Noor Food Market, a gourmet grocery store in the heart of Ottawa. And Mr. Mahmoud wanted to share with us his opinion about how we should, as a diaspora, work in increasing the food export, and so therefore I will leave this the note for you, Abbas, to give your intervention about this topic and about your shop, Noor Food Market, as well.
I want to start off by saying thank you for having me on this wonderful podcast this morning. My favorite food is Lebanese food, actually. It's not because I'm Lebanese. I'm very proud of the heritage. I own multiple restaurants, none of them being Lebanese restaurants. And my best-selling items in almost all my restaurants is actually hummus. And I also own a grocery store as well. And we are selling a lot of Lebanese food. I feel that Mediterranean food is trending at probably as the best-selling food right now. I speak to a lot of my bigger suppliers, GFS and Cisco, and it's probably the most popular food right now because it's so healthy for people. It's clean food. And we have some of the best products in Lebanon. I feel that what we need to do is just show people our products here in Canada. We need to come up with a marketing strategy and get people here in Canada to try, because I'm 100% convinced that if they try the Lebanese products, then they will enjoy the products and consume them. We know, from having, you go into a store now, some of the best-selling items in grocery stores are baba ghanoush, hummus, and the oils. What we really need, I think, to move the olive oil in Canada is a good marketing strategy done here to bring awareness of the quality of Lebanese food, and also another strategy to actually sample, go into stores and sample the products, because once people try our foods, they're hooked on them. I remember being at Noor a little while ago, and I started sampling Lebanese, Lebanese, and it was just amazing that the reaction that happened when people add a bit of oil. And we have such a wonderful culture. You've taught me a lot about, the olive oils being, olive trees being the first in Lebanon and coming from there. We need to tell that to the world. especially here in Canada. And I know Canadian people really, really like eating healthy food. I know they like eating clean food. And I also know that they really like supporting Lebanon. When I was sending, aid to Lebanon, they were so supportive of what I was doing. And they continued to donate stuff and things to me. So they want to support Lebanon. I truly believe that. We just have to get a good marketing strategy that puts our products forward in the Canadian community, and also come up with another strategy where people can try it. I think if we came up with a strategy to get people to try our olive oil, they would be sold, and they would realize, just like I do, that we have some of the best food in the world. But thank you for having me.
Thank you, Abbas, and I'm very happy that you made the time today to be with us and for your valuable intervention. And I hope that we can, with people like you and maybe through you, develop this marketing strategy and actually start to do this campaign about Lebanese food. So hopefully we can sit together and start on a project like this with your guidance, of course. So thank you again for being with us today. And I'm very excited actually to introduce to you today a Toronto-based extra virgin olive oil expert, international contest judge and certified taster, the founder and olive oil producer at Abundant Grove, and the host of the award-winning documentary Obsessed with Olive Oil, who collaborated nationally and internationally with top culinary personalities and institutions, and has lent his expertise to various renowned olive oil publications. Without further introductions, Mr. Phil Bukino, welcome to our Lebanese-Canadian meetup today. We are very much looking forward to your intervention to tackle with you the experience and how we should actually be exporting to Canada, and what are the specificities and what make olive oil competitive in the market, especially for gourmet olive oil producers. Yes, we are unmuting you. Just 1 second.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor to speak about olive oil, and especially with so many distinguished guests, and with a country that has so much legacy and history as Lebanon, as well as some of my favorite cultivars when it comes to olive, being the Baladi, the Runi, the Suri. So it's a pleasure. Vanessa, thank you for the incredible introduction. And I'm just going to jump right into it. It's been really great. But one of I think the industry-wide issue when it comes to extra virgin olive oil is education. I mean, as a whole, it's a product that we've all known. I'm born in Italy. I have lived in Venezuela. I've lived in Africa. I've lived in the United States. Now I'm in Toronto, presently in Italy. And I can say that it's a country that it's a product that we tend to see on a shelf and not pay any attention to. It's basically extra virgin olive oil. And now when you look at the big wall of olive oil, when you go to a grocery store, that everything is labeled extra virgin. The labels look almost the same. How do you distinguish it? How do you get through that initial step to figure out which bottle it is that you're going to get? And in the past 5 to 6 years, there's been an exponential growth in education and communication, and a lot of more and more people communicating the difference between tradition and quality when it comes to olive oil. And I'm a firm believer, and I've seen it with my some of the experiments and some of the producers that we work with, that the producers in the countries that tend to focus on education and experience tend to have a phenomenal competitive advantage over the rest of the world. Because again, there's a big thing with olive oil, and we talked about it, and I've heard it, and it resonates a lot when we talk about Spain and Italy and where it actually comes from. That's the marketing machine in the world of olive oil. But the reality is that a properly produced extra virgin olive oil can be made in any country and by any producer that wants to apply themselves to creating a great product. So the question is, how can a small producer, especially coming into Canada or going into the United States, how can you compete with the big multinationals out of Spain or out of Italy? And especially when you walk into a grocery store, you have the massive wall of olive oil. And truthfully, the answer is quite easy in the sense that it's going to take a lot of work, but I've seen the results have been exponential over the years. And a lot of it's communicating that experience, communicating the stories, understanding that extra virgin olive oil, it's a fresh and seasonal ingredient, that it's not a staple that belongs to the well in a grocery store, but it's something that needs to be lived and experienced. I mean, for me, I've been around olive oil my whole life, and everyone in my family is like, oh, Italian olive oil, that's the best one. And then you meet somebody else from Spain, oh, Spanish olive oil is the best one. But the reality is that when you try a really good oil, regardless of where it comes from, and I can say this because I get to taste north of 500-700 oils a year from all over the world. When it's done right, it's a full body experience. And I can tell the passion, from Tony, even and Mr. Ferez, the conversations is that it's a full body experience, that when you feel a properly produced extra virgin olive oil and you taste it, you can't go back. You simply can't go back. So the important thing with the small producers is you need to create that experience. You need to get in front of people. Some of the experiments that we've done in Canada is doing olive oil centric dinners with new harvest oils, with different kinds of oils. And you communicate the product and you pair it with the right meal. And we're talking about the Mediterranean diet. And it is phenomenal when people start understanding that olive oils have their own different sensory profiles and characteristics, the same way that wine does. I mean, the wine industry has done it. The wine industry has been able to make the consumer understand, or communicate, not making them understand, but actually communicate that there is a $5 or $6 bottle of wine and there's a $200 bottle of wine. The consumer understands the difference between the two. With olive oil right now, it's really confusing. I mean, as a consumer, it's very difficult because everything is labeled the same. Everybody will claim that their oil is the best. And coming from Italy, everyone in Italy claims that their oil is the best. So there's a lot of work to be done in that level. And again, it's tradition versus quality. We talked about, I'm very happy to see all the new investments that producers are putting in their mills and modernizing their facilities, because although tradition is beautiful, although it's nice to talk about the mills and look, it does not equate to quality. They're two different things altogether. So we need to stick to quality, to experience. But we can't get to that point if we can't communicate it to the consumer. And in my experience, when it comes to olive oil, there's a lot of B2B, business to business conversation, but very little business to consumer conversation. So in the small experiments that we've been doing, my goal with the documentary that we've done, with some of the projects and tourism, it's about experiencing extra virgin olive oil. And every country, every grove, every producer, every region has an ability and has the potential to express a unique story from a product that renews itself every single year. And that's another thing too. I mean, and much like Mr. Bishop Ibrahim, I can go on and on and on talking about olive oil, but the reality is it is something that renews itself every year, and every harvest should be told as a new story every single year. And especially for the small producers, because the small producers, you want to know where it comes from. You want to know what they go through the harvest. You want to know the differences in the harvest from season to season and the sensory profiles that change depending on the cultivar. So, one of the simpler ways, of course, the experiences, but obviously when you walk into a grocery store, how can you have that experience? So that tasting bar obviously helps. Having somebody communicate the product, it helps, but also expressing more on the label, talking about what cultivars, what olive varietals are on the label. How can you pair that olive oil with a certain regional dish that would make the consumer think, oh my gosh, I make that, that's what I eat. Maybe I should try this olive oil. Talking about the harvest date, what year was it harvested? What month was it harvested? Where was it harvested? When all those conversations start coming in, the consumer, inevitably, it's the consumer that's going to drive the market. I mean, we've talked about it in the documentary as well, but if I walk into a restaurant day after day and the fish that they serve me is spoiled, eventually the restaurateur is going to say, I need to change my supplier. I need to find a good supplier because my customer is not buying my fish anymore. And eventually it's going to happen with olive oil, because I've seen it, it's an exponential growth, and I'm happy to see, and I monitor the growth and the export of different countries, and it's amazing to see Lebanon really making a step and pulling a step forward. And I think if education, these are the days, this is the moment where awareness is just beginning. I mean, the new technology started 10 to 12 years ago, and the new awareness is starting today. And the countries and the producers that invest in that education and that experience-based learning on a product, I think will reap the benefits. It's a slow start. It's not an easy road because the confusion from the consumer is it's very elevated. It's very hard. And also on top of the confusion, as was said, not to repeat myself, but you're dealing with that traditional part of it. So a lot of people will not switch countries because they have this conviction that a country produces a better olive oil. And as, again, with all the oils that I taste, I've tasted olive oils that are phenomenal. And we always do blind tasting, and then you're surprised to find out what countries or regions or which producer made them.
Yeah, you promised
also,
us a comparative. Also,
sorry?
You promised us a comparative discussion after intervention about the olive oil and how we should know which one is better and these details.
Yeah, of course, and I think we can jump to it right now. I mean, in essence, in the most simplest of ways, when I think about for the consumer, because I like to speak towards the consumer, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be taking the olive oil home. They're the ones that are going to do communicating and sharing their experience with their guests, their friends, and their family. An olive oil has to smell good. It's fresh fruit juice. We have to remember that. It's a fresh, seasonal, raw, extracted fruit juice. And when it's fruit juice, you want to smell fruit. You want to smell vegetables. You want to smell nuts and anything that's reminds you of freshness. It needs to start there. And when you taste it, you want to have some bitterness. You want to have some pungency. It needs to feel clean. And that's the basic level. Then beyond that, then we can get into more, intricate discussions about different cultivars and different flavors that pair with different food. But as a basic level, that's where it starts. And when today we go to a grocery store and we are not even allowed to taste an olive oil, it's very difficult to know. And one of the problems, and it's the fact that an olive oil in Lebanon or an olive oil at the source will taste very different if not taken care of when it gets to Canada. And that is a big problem. It's a big problem because it is a very sensitive product. It's a product that doesn't react well to heat, to light. And if not produced properly, not stored properly, not transported properly, when it gets to the consumer, it may have been an incredible product at the start, but by the time it gets to the shelf in somebody's home, it may be a completely distorted product. It's like a corked bottle of wine. So I think it's important when imported into Canada to take care of every one of the steps because they're very important because they can actually change it. So I have two oils here and I wanted to show it. And I don't know the brand because I do everything blindly and I don't look at the brands. So when we do olive oil tastings, we taste in these glasses, which are dark blue glasses, and now they're dark red as well too. And the idea of them is that the color won't influence your decision on an oil. Because again, contrary to popular belief, the color of an olive oil has no impact on its quality, has no impact on its flavor. I've tried very pale yellow oils that were explosive, and I've tried fluorescent green oils that were defective and they were basically dead. So I've got two oils here. I don't know the brand, but you can see the difference between the two of them. Hopefully you can see. One of them is very murky and not filtered, and one of them is perfectly clear. So the problem with unfiltering an oil is that we were decreasing, when an oil is not filtered, we decrease its shelf life exponentially. Basically, all the particles from the debris of vegetable water, some of the skin, some of the pit that actually falls back into the oil will expedite the oxidation process of that oil and will develop into defects. So when I tasted this oil, it was difficult to understand if there were defects from the production side, if there were different defects from the transport side, or just age, or just the effect of oxidation. So that's why it's usually recommended to look for a filtered and a clear oil. Now this oil is from about a year ago as well too, I believe, and but this was properly filtered. So this will inevitably have a longer shelf life. But I said sorry.
Yeah, tell me.
So when talking about the things that we don't want to smell in an oil when tasting it are foul or artificial smells like paint, wax, rancid, the taste of salami or prosciutto that's been left out on a counter for 3 or 4 days, cold cuts, vinegar. Those are sort of the defects that come up afterwards that could have started, those are production defects. Rancidity, and this is another thing too, is that all olive oils, doesn't matter how amazing they were at the start. It does not matter, could be the best, top winning, most awarded olive oil in the world. In time, it's like leaving a bottle of wine open for a week. It will go rancid, it will not taste good. So that's why it is important of the education of being able to have people experience olive oil by tasting it, by smelling it, by having an intimate relationship with this product, rather than just trusting a label or a bottle, because it's very difficult. So as an exporter, when you're exporting into Canada, you want to trust your importer, you want to trust your supplier, your purveyor, ask questions. Ask, where did it come from? How was it made? When was it made? And those are the questions that will then bring the consumer closer to oil. And once that rapport of trust is created, the consumer then looks forward to the new harvest every year. Because as we said, olive oil is the king of the table. And when a properly produced olive oil is paired with the right food, it's literally, it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have any other comments about related to like advice or something for gourmet olive oil producers, or anything you would like to add on what you just said.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's ways to maximize the shelf life. Obviously, you want to produce the olive oil in the best way possible. You want to use mechanical means. You want to filter immediately and as quickly as possible. You want to store it ideally under nitrogen and on temperature controlled, because again, heat, light, time, oxygen, these are all enemies of extra virgin olive oil. When you bottle it, you want to bottle in a dark bottle. Ideally, something that does not allow light to come into the olive oil, because often when I go into a shelf, I see a very phenomenal producer, a phenomenal brand, and they're at the very top of the shelf, close to the fluorescent lights, and in the Canadian winter, next to the heater. I mean, obviously, we're done. That olive oil, I would make a bet that it would not taste good. So it's important to understand, to take care of it at the start, make sure that the transport suffers the minimal amount of damage, understanding that maybe you don't want to have it sitting on a port for 4 weeks in a container, going from +20, +25 degrees down to -2 degrees, back and forth. And then when it gets to the shelf, that the grocer also understands how to handle the product. So it goes down to my very first point, it's education. There's education because we all, me included, we tend to look at olive oil as just a staple. And I think if we understand that it is alive, it's a product that it's alive, it's a fresh ingredient and it's seasonal, we start looking at it in a completely different way and we care of it in a different way.
Yeah.
And also as a consumer, when you open a good bottle, you want to use it, because as soon as you open the bottle, the oxidation process expedites. And when the oxidation process expedites, defects come out, and then the flavor, it just, in a very simple, basic way, it just won't taste as good. And at the end of the day, when you create beautiful hummus, you create a beautiful meal, and with incredible ingredients, and then you put on an olive oil that's rancid, it's defective on it, it's taking a step backwards. And like we talked about often in the documentary, or we do with wine pairing, sometimes you take a wine that you don't like the way it pairs, you just choose the glass. But when you put an oil that's defective on a good dish, you literally are throwing away the dish, or at the very least, you're robbing yourself of a good experience.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Bikino, for participating with us and sharing your passion with Lebanese olive oil stakeholders. And I would like to invite all our participants and Lebanese producers to connect with Mr. Bikino and collaborate maybe to enhance and market their products widely in the Canadian market and to enhance maybe their production if they need to. So please connect with me by email at the end of the webinar, so I share with you his contact information if you would like to do that. So thank you again, Mr. Bikino, for being with us.
I just want to add one last thing, if I wanted to say,
yeah.
and
yeah.
I'm a firm believer, Vanessa and I spoke about, countries like Lebanon have a phenomenal competitive advantage because if the country comes out and invests in education, experience, and talking about quality and actually showing the quality, it will be miles ahead even some of the many oils that are being produced out of Spain and Italy today. And that is yeah, it's a very exciting thing.
Thank you so much, Phil. It's really a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to further collaboration with you. So thank you so much for your presence today and for your time. Thank you. And I will jump now into an interesting panel that interests most of our audience, which is how to sell to distributors and retailers. So I want to welcome with us today Mr. Mazen Mnaimne, Commercial Director and Partner at MENA Trading Incorporation. MENA Trading is based in Ontario and distributes Mediterranean products in Canada and the United States, and it has more than 20 years of experience in the distribution field. Mr. Mnaimne is also an importer of a famous Lebanese olive oil brand. Mr. Mnaimne, welcome today to our webinar. Thank you for being with us. And we want to ask you today about the reputation of Lebanese olive oil in the Canadian ethnic market and the demand that you're facing, the challenges and the current opportunities. And the main question is, how can exporters or producers connect with distributors like you, and how can they improve their position due to the competition that we have in the market?
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. I would like to thank His Excellency, Mr. Fadi Ziedi, and Vanessa for make this webinar happen. First of all, I would like to share with you some information regarding the olive oil, Lebanese olive oil in Canada. The Lebanese olive oil in Canada, of course, is very well famous between the Lebanese community. But as a distributor and for the producer, we want to expand the brand awareness to all the community in Canada. And in order to make this happen, we have to work all together as distributor, producer, and mainly the authentic shop owners to change the behavior and how to distribute this kind of olive oil. What challenge we are facing that most of the shop owners that are still importing non-branded olive oil into Canada. This, which makes, as Mr. Tony Maroon said, the most important things is to have the consistency for the olive oil. People will get used to the olive oil, to a brand, so we can come back to the store and have this brand again. And in order to go to a bigger chain outside the only the authentic shop, we have to start selling in these shops a specific product, so the big chain know about it, hear about it, so they can ask to have it in their shops. What also I would like to emphasize on Mr. Yusuf Faris said, it's very important for the producers if they can work together on organizing the product. It will be very well promoted outside Lebanon. If they do like an organization, work together, we have a very successful experience. بيقولوا لها بالعربي مقاصة بين اللي producer, if they sit together and work on having their product well promoted outside of Lebanon, it will help us more to go into the bigger market here in Canada. Also, one of the things, the distributor have to believe in the brands, not only that I want to sell this brand, put it on the shelves. It has to, he has to share the history of the brand with the community and believe in it. As for the importers, also they have to find the right distributor through you, Vanessa. You did an excellent job to link the distributor and the producer in Lebanon through the social media, especially these days. New school is the social media. People can saw our wonderful products, and this will help us a lot in introducing the Lebanese oil. It's famous between the Lebanese community, but we rank number 6 in the Canadian market after Italy, Spain, Tunis, Greece, Turkey. The Lebanese olive oil ranked number 6. And the first 3 importers, let's say Italy, Spain, Tunisia, have 87% from the Canadian market. So we are, all other players are represent 13%. We have a huge room to increase our presence if we work together, work in introducing a brand, work on the brand history, not only just to target small shop. We have to be more aggressive in the market. There is a lot of room to increase the Lebanese market share in the Canadian market.
Yes, yes, Mr. Nani, I think are you still with us, or something happened to the connection? Yes, and I would like to see if you have also another advice for producers, like to help them know better what is the market waiting for them here. How should they maybe price or approach distributors?
The price is a main factor, but I don't want to focus on the price, because as I told you, the Canadian market is a need for a good product, premium product. It wasn't there a long time ago. Newly, the premium product has been in Canada. In order to introduce it and gain the share, we have to work on it, not only pricing issue, but also to communicate it through the network. The
Yes.
distributor has to have a big network in order
Yes.
to communicate the product.
Yeah, so more communication, more marketing, more presence between distributors, and yes, correct. Yes, and here we're looking forward to always, yes, Mazen, sorry.
Most important thing is to the producer to sit together and make an exportation strategy. So not any store can now go to Lebanon, have unbranded olive oil, bring it here, sell it in his shop. This is will not build up market share for the Lebanese olive oil. This has to be more organized.
Yeah, and thank you, Mazen, for your intervention. And I would like to add that now, as I was saying, the BIEEL Project cluster is now working on clustering the main products, like, for example, olive oil, wine, za'atar, and they are trying to work on this initiative to cluster and to put together innovative companies and companies that can export. So I hope that we can work together on these exporting strategies with them and and to put the forces together on each product. So thank you for mentioning that, Mazen, and thank you for your time. And it's always a pleasure collaborating and working with you, Mazen. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And now I will jump to another success story of a businessman who came newly to Ottawa, and he brought with him his entrepreneurship and innovative ideas, and as I was saying, his entrepreneurship spirit. Canada is very lucky to have you, Mr. Donald Batal. Mr. Batal is the owner of Le Suc Levantine Grocery and Cafe, and is now venturing into new restaurant ideas and chains. Taking it from here, I want to ask you, Mr. Batal, about your views and your opinion regarding the positioning of Lebanese products in your grocery and cafe. And what is your experience with Lebanese olive oil sellings on your shelves? And based on the market dynamics, what do you think producers should do to improve their presence in the Canadian market, given your new interaction and the dynamics that you explored in this market? Mr. Batal.
Good day, everyone. Your Excellency, Vanessa. Thank you for this intervention. I think the team here completes the perfect way to penetrate Canada. I'm going to share with you my experience for the last year. I've been in both worlds. I've been in Beirut for the last 30 years working in the food industry, and I've been here for a year now working into the grocery business. And I believe the market of Canada can fulfill all the production of Lebanon. Canadians are big consumer on quality products. Canadians read a lot. I noticed that someone mentioned also, Mr. Group mentioned that label is important. I've never seen a community that read a lot labels. So when the label is very well branded, you have a guaranteed sale. Weather helps a lot in Canada. It's so cold. Most of the people are in-house. They consume a lot, and they buy quality product. And like Mazen was mentioning before, the Canadian market is around 85% of more than the Lebanese market. So in our grocery store, on 10% that enter the store, you have 8 that don't know the Lebanese product. And this is where we have the big potential of expanding our quality product. Another small note, you were asking me about what can we do. Consume quality. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, I zip.
I can
okay.
repeat.
Can
Yes.
I get later? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. I was asking you about your opinion about how can Lebanese products actually do better, or how can we introduce them better, and what is your experience with the products that you already have, like the Lebanese?
I don't think we can do better. We can do better. The products that we have are excellent, and they're already present in the market. We just need to make them reach a higher. Okay, sorry, Vanessa. I need to. I got a message.
No problem. No problem.
Okay,
yes. Okay, I will get back to you in a few, Mr. Batal. Thank you for your time. So I will jump now to an impressive story that started with Mr. George Ayoub, who is the owner of GNA Export Import. Mr. George Ayoub has been shipping products from producers in villages directly to the diaspora. So it was a door-to-door selling technique. So Mr. George Ayoub, بنحب انه تعطينا الاكسبيرينس تبعك بهذا الدومين، كيف قدرت انت تسوق او تبيع البضاعه دايركتلي للدياسبورا هون.
Sorry guys, I need to apologize. Just got a message. Someone passed away. I will resend you my intervention. I'm really sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Donald, and we're sorry for that. Sorry for your loss.
Sorry.
Thank you, Donald. Thank you. Mr. Ayoub, are you with us? If you can please tell us about your story and how you actually started with this initiative, and how are you doing the selling nowadays? فيك تحكي بالعربي أو بحيالله لغة.
تحياتي لكم بكندا أنا هلا ببلدة كفر مشكي، قضاء رشايا الوادي. من هون بلشت أنا بشركة GNA على كندا. الفكرة بلشت هي كيف بدي أنقل، مش حباين، كيف بدي أنقل زيت الزيتون من المزارع للمستهلك لقرايبهم بكندا. وبلشت أول شيء بأوتاوا، لأنه جالي كفر مشكي بأوتاوا كبير كتير، وكلهم عندهم بساتين زيتون وبدهم ياكلوا زيت الزيتون تبعولهم بالضيعة. وبلشت بال 2005 بلشت بنص كونتينر أول سنة، وصارت تزيد كل سنة عن سنة تزيد، لو وصلنا لهلا صرنا ب 12 كونتينر بالسنة، ايكوال شي 12,000 تنكة زيت، شي 3,000 تنكة زيتون. وبعد منا صرنا نزيد المونة البلدية من المزارع لقرايبهم بكندا. وصرنا تقريبا بكل أنحاء كندا هلا، من مونتريال لتورونتو لأوتاوا لفانكوفر لألبرتا وبتوقع السنة كمان يزيد لحوالي 14 كونتينر زيت وزيتون ومونة بلدية وكل شيء مليح لحد هلا.
استاذ جورج، هلا اذا بس فيك تخبرنا انت كيف بتجمع، كيف تتواصل مع المزارع، وكيف كيف بتجمع البضاعه لحتى تبعتها للناس هون
المستودع الاساسي، انا المستودع الاساسي عندي بكفر مشكي قضاء رشايا الوادي لاغلبيه المهاجرين من هاي المنطقه.
مظبوط.
صار عندي لوكيشن بصيدا بالجنوب، كمان في كثير مهاجرين، ولوكيشن ببيروت، وهلا السنه بدنا نفتح لوكيشن بالشمال، لانه عم بيجي عالم كثير من الشمال بده يبعثوا على كندا.
نعم.
وين في مناطق كثير فيها هجره على كندا عم بجرب افتح مكاتب لهم.
اوكي. وانت فاتح يعني في المزارع يتواصل معك اذا في حدا ما بتعرفه، في يتواصل معك تشوفوا كيف فيكم يمكن تتعاونوا ليبعثوا اغراض على كندا. صح.
أكيد.
انا مشان هيك بتمنى انه بتمنى من كل حدا مهتم يرجع يحكينا لحتى كمان تو شير الاكسبيرينس تبع مسيو ايوب، ونقدر نوصل البرودكت اللبناني من الضيعه للدياسبورا دايركتلي، يعني بينباعوا دغري دور تو دور، وهذا الشيء بيساعد المزارع لحتى يضل بارضه ويضل يزرع ويضل ينتج ويبيع للناس اللبنانيه هون بكندا. بتحب تزيد شيء بعد استاذ ايوب على هذا الموضوع؟
هلا مش بس اتفقت على زيت وزيتون، صار في المونه البلديه كلها. الموسم الماضي بعثنا شي 10 طن كشك مثلا. العالم كثير بحاجه بدها كشك وزبيب وتين ودبس. سوقنا دبس العنب كثير بكندا، وكرمال عم تزيد القصص. العالم عم تسال عن زعتر مثلا، كثير طلبوا قوي. بقت عم نسهل امور كثير للعالم اللي بده يبعثوا لقرايبهم.
نعم. نعم، أنا بعتبر إنه هيدي مبادرة كتير حلوة، ونحن رح نضل على تواصل معك لحتى نطور هيدي المبادرة ونعرف ناس أكثر عليك وعلى ناس مثلك هون بكندا، لأنه هيدا الشيء كتير مهم، لأنه بيوصل العالم ببعضها وبيسهل التصدير من لبنان لكندا. فبدي اتشكرك مسيو ايوب على تواجدك معنا، وعلى انه خبرتنا عن هالقصه الحلوه، وبدنا يعني ان شاء الله على طول يكون في ناس ومبادرات مثلك لحتى يضل المزارع بارضه، ونضل عم نقدر نشتغل لنصدر الصناعه الوطنيه او الزراعه اللي بعدها بتضيع دغري للمهاجرين وللدياسبورا. ومعنا هلا نحن كمان استاذ توفيق ابو عسله، He's the owner of Asali Advertising and Marketing Company that he founded 25 years ago, as well as he launched the Lebanese Canadian Business Directory in Canada. وكمان أستاذ توفيق رح يحكي عن مبادرة يلي عم يعملها مسيو أيوب because he is in charge of the marketing كمان لإله كمان لأشخاص تانية هون بكندا. مسيو بوعسلي.
صباح الخير من كندا لكل المشاركين. تحية. اسمحوا لي بالأول بدي من هذه المنصة الإعلامية الويب اللي عملته السفارة اللبنانية بكندا أن أبارك لسيادة المطران إبراهيم لمتولي منصبه الجديد في لبنان، والتحية الكبيرة لسعادة السفير في كندا الأستاذ فادي زيادي على المساعي اللي عم بيقوم فيها الجهود الكبيرة اللي بما فيه مصلحة لبنان المقيم والمغترب. تحية إلى المهندس مدير عام وزارة الاقتصاد المهندس لويس لحود، المهندس الزحلي بامتياز، والشكر كمان الأنسة فانيسا نداف الملحق الاقتصادي في السفارة اللبنانية. وتحية لكل المشاركين من لبنان، متمنيا لكم التوفيق، وشرف لي أن أكون مشاركا في هذه الندوة المميزة على الصعيد الاغترابي اللبناني في كندا. اسمحوا لي أن أتكلم عن شركة جورج الأولى أيوب GNA صاحبها جورج أيوب بصفتي المسؤول الإعلامي في كندا ولبنان. أريد أن أشكر جورج أيوب على هذه الخطوة الجريئة التي قام بها ويستحق التقدير. بيشحن خيرات بلادك لأهلك وأحبابك في كندا. هيدي فرصة كتير جريئة وكتير قوية وبهدي عليها. بلش الفكرة من سنة 2005. كنت أنا وياه بالبقاع، قال لي بدي بلش اشحن. ليش هاللبناني اللي قاعد بكندا ما بتوصله تركة الزيت أو المونة اللبنانية من أهله مباشر؟ أنا حابب أوصل له إياها على نص بيته بكندا بكل المقاطعات اللبنانية. بلش بهالخطوة وكانت تجربة كتير صعبة، واشتغل وعنده فريق عمل متخصص بكل الأمور، بطريقة التخزين، بطريقة التوضيب، بطريقة التسليم. هيدي شغلة كتير مهمة، وأنا يعني بفتخر تكون شركتي عم تتعامل مع شخص عنده هالجرأة مثل السيد جورج أيوب. وبلشت هالخبرة، وبعتبره إنه هو عبد جسر العبور لشحن المنتوجات اللبنانية مش للسوبر ماركت، للأهل والأحباب ديركت. يعني عم بجيب هالتنكة الزيت أو تنكة الزيتون أو الكشك من لبنان، من حيلا منطقة بلبنان عم بيوصلها. يعني أنا عم توصلني على نص بيتي بكندا بأوتاوا. بحس الإنسان بفرحة إنه وصل له شيء من أهله، زيت أو زيتون. تعرفي العلاقة فانيسا وكل المشاركين وسعادة السفير وكل المشاركين بلبنان وبكندا، إنه علاقة الإنسان المغترب مع أرضه مع أهله وأحبابه هيدي شغلة بتعطينا عطف، يعني الاشتياق للجذور. هيدي شغلة كتير أنا بفتخر فيها اللي عملها جورج أيوب.
مزبوط. ونحن كمان بدنا نشجع على طول هيك مبادرات يعني موجودة. هيدي
مبادرة كتير مهمة، وهذا عمل جبار. وفي بدي أشكره كمان إنه على الموضوع اللي صار سنة الماضية بوجود يعني الوباء اللي صار بلبنان وبكل العالم، كيف قدر وصل 12 كونتينر على كندا مع كل التحديات اللي صارت، وصلوا على ذات الوقت، وكل العالم استلمت اغراضها. وكان في كتير تحدي له بطريقه التسليم مع اخذ الاحتياطات بالالتزام كل شيء بخص الكورونا. كانت شغله كتير جباره. وانا بصفتي يعني بهتم بالاعلانات وبالتسويق في كندا هون له، بسمع من كل الاشخاص اللي عم يستلموا الاغراض انه هالفكره كتير مميزه جدا، وعم بيوصلوا المنتوجات بكل الوقت. وصارت معروفه شركته على الصعيد الكندي واللبناني. بتمنى له كل التوفيق، وان شاء الله كمان يعني لقدام. بعدين صارت اليوم الفكره عم تتطور، عنده فكره انه يزيد المواد الغذائيه كلها، كل شيء بينسمع فيه القانون اللي شحن من لبنان الى كندا عم يوصلنا الزعتر والزيت زيتون، ونشرح على هالاشياء هيدي. واليوم منا مسؤوليه كثير كبيره، عم يوصل لاكثر من 1000 انسان بظرف شهر، عم يسلف من اكثر من 1000 عائله عم توصل لهم منتوجاتهم من لبنان دغري لعندهم على البيت بكندا. انا بحييه وبحييكم كلكم، كل المشاركين وخاصه المشاركين بلبنان. بس بدي اتمنى عليهم شغله، نحن بنفتخر بالمنتوجات اللبنانيه من الزيت والزيتون وكل المنتوجات اللبنانيه الموجوده، هي موجوده هون بالمحلات اللبنانيه، بس بحاجه لزياده التسويق. انتم عندكم سوق بكندا كثير كبير، بعالم الانتشار عندكم سوق كثير كبير، بده شويه تسويق منكم زياده. مثلا تركزوا على التسويق المنتوجات اللي عم تبعتوها على كندا، لانه في منافسه كثير قويه، ولبنان معروف بطبيعته، بطبيعه شمسه، بطبيعته، الله اعطانا نعمه بلبنان، لازم نستغل هالفرصه. وعندكم سوق ذهبي بلبنان بكندا بعالم الاقتراض ممكن تستثمروه. والبترول مش موجود بالبحر بلبنان، البترول موجود بعالم الاقتراض، بكل عالم الاقتراض. تحيه لكم كل المشاركين بهالويب بانر، وبطلب منكم قد ايه فيكم تسوقوا اكثر بكندا. ونحن انا بعتبر شركتي من خلال السفاره اللبنانيه سعاده السفير، كل التحيه والاحترام، شركه عسل الاعلام والتسويق، نحن اكبر منصه تعتبر للسوشيال ميديا بكندا هون على الصعيد الجاليه اللبنانيه والعربيه. بودع خبراتي يعني لكل اصحاب الشركات شو فينا نتساعد لنوصل اكثر المسج تبع الشركات اللبنانيه اللي عم تسوق المنتوجات في كندا بكندا وعالم الاغتراب.
ميرسي
ما
لك.
بيطول عليكم اكثر من هيك.
ميرسي، لا مزبوط، نحن تخطينا الوقت، بس ميرسي لك مسيو بعسلي. Thank you so much for your presence.
حطيت الوقت انا
No, بالعكس. Thank you so much لك مسيو بعسلي, and we're looking forward to continuous collaboration with you and Mr. Ayoub on promoting the products here and letting them enter the Canadian market. And last in this webinar, I would like to introduce Ms. Dina Bakhit, the President of Global Logistics Management Incorporation, an international trading and shipping company in Ontario that focuses on importing, exporting, customs formalities and clearance, and international logistics, while helping businesses and entrepreneurs grow their companies in Canada and around the globe. Dina has worked in the logistics industry for more than 25 years. Dina Bakhit is widely recognized also for her project Lebanon Strong, a Canadian relief campaign that she launched after the August explosion. And we're happy to have you today with us, Ms. Dina. And you told us that you have good news regarding shipping, and you're going to cover what is the right way or the cheapest way to ship from Lebanon to Canada, and how does it compare with other countries as well. So yeah, we're looking forward to hear that.
So His Excellency Fadi Ziedi and Economic Attaché Vanessa Nadaf, I commend you on the excellent webinar today. So I thank you both for everything that you're doing for Lebanon and for Canada. I also want to thank the panel of experts. I mean, we're all learning a lot today from their expertise. So yes, thank you for the introduction. I'm Dina, the CEO of Global Logistics Management. I've been in the industry for over 25 years, and I'm happy to share my experience here today with the team. So the good news, which is really great news, there's no duties and no taxes to import extra virgin olive oil. So this is a very big advantage to the Lebanese exporter and the Canadian importer, okay? So we all acknowledge that Lebanese olive oil, like we say, is liquid gold and superior, very high quality. We really, as a team together, we should increase the export percentage to 50 to 70% into Canada. And I'm going to help bring this number up, inshallah, this year. So in terms of the logistics, you have options to ship LCL, groupage, or full container. The advantage is always to ship the full container into Canada, and you can use 20-foot containers. Average cost can be anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000. The rates are fluctuating due to the increase due to COVID, due to the lack of containers, as everybody is hearing in the news. So what my job is to basically tie in what everybody today has spoken about, from compliance. I want to thank Alia for explaining what is the SFC, which is the license that most importers need. So when you come to Global Logistics Management, we try to put everything into one plate for you and try to make it easy. We help you get your license. We guide you on the process of importation into Canada, compliance, rates. If you want to only book 1 skid or 2 skids of olive oil, we guide you on how to do that process from Lebanon into Canada. We also want to discuss with you rules and regulations in Canada. What are the rules and regulations when importing? From labeling, what they discussed today, from labeling to branding to marketing. All of this is very important in selling your product. So as I tell all of my customers, all of the importers, you're not smart if you have money to buy the olive oil. No, it's very important to brand it and sell it and make the Lebanese olive oil #1 on the shelf. I speak out of experience because we also own a supermarket out in Alberta. We have the largest olive oil aisle probably in all of Canada, I could say. Basha Foods is #1 for olive oil. We sell all kinds of olive oil. And when I'm there, I'm always promoting the Lebanese olive oil. I walk in the aisles and I see the customers buying oil. I say, have you ever tried the Lebanese olive oil? Try it. I guarantee you're gonna love it. So again, it's how we market the product, how we brand the product, the quality of the product. And to come into Canada, it sounds like it's complicated, but it's not. So if anybody, again, needs help on the logistics side, knowing, do you want to bring it in by air as a sample? Do you want to bring it in by ocean? What are your options? LCL, FCL? Where do you want to import it? If your customer is in Alberta, which ports to use? This is all very important. Ports that we use, your documentation process. I like to sit with the client on the importation side, where we also tie in the exporter in Lebanon and we guide everybody so that we don't have any mistakes. I know what customs looks for. I have to surrender the documents to customs and to the shipping line. So it's my job to help the importer have all the proper information on their documentation and also on their product. Labeling, nutrition facts, English and French. A lot of people don't know that you really have to do your due diligence when importing any food product into Canada. So anybody who needs information or needs my guidance, please reach out. Vanessa can share my information and I'm happy to assist anybody who needs help logistics wise, or you have a question about branding, nutrition, your box, your labeling. I'm here to help.
Thank you, Dina. And again, thank you so much for always supporting Lebanon through the shipping that you do, through the humanitarian aid that you're helping the diaspora ship to Lebanon, and all the campaigns that you're doing to promote all the help and all the good cause towards Lebanon. So thank you again for all this incredible work that you're doing in the community and for Lebanon as well. And we're always looking forward to work with you and collaborate with you in all the topics related to export and other things as well. And thank you for your time, your intervention, Dina. And now we're coming to the end of the webinar. I'm sorry if we crossed the time a little bit, but I'm sure there was lots of information to be said and lots of things to be shared. I'm always available here at the Embassy of Lebanon to answer all your questions, to help with each and every producer, to connect them, to let them know more about the Canadian market and help with any of their inquiries. And I would like to thank everyone who participated with us in this event, the BIEEL cluster, the Association of Lebanese Industrialists, and everyone who put the time and the effort to make this webinar possible. And special thanks as well to our speakers who put also the time to prepare and speak and stay with us during this webinar. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to share a poll right now just to have your opinion about it. And I'm looking forward to further collaboration and work with all of you. And merci beaucoup et à la prochaine. Now you can see a poll, so whoever wants to add his opinion, I would